America has been home to great inventors, presidents, and pioneers, but it's also been home to some of the dumbest people to ever walk the earth. From politicians who sabotage their own careers, to scammers who couldn't even scam properly, to people who thought laundry detergent was a snack, these are the 33 biggest idiots in US history. Some of these will make you laugh, some will make you cringe, and others will make you lose faith in humanity. Stick with me till the end, because number 33 is so ridiculous, it might actually hurt your brain. And before we start, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video, because stupidity this epic deserves an audience. 1. William Blount, the senator who tried to sell America. William Blount was one of the early US senators, but instead of serving his country, he secretly plotted with the British to help them take Florida and Louisiana. His brilliant idea? Betray his own nation for personal land profits? Naturally, he got caught, became the first senator expelled, and left behind a legacy not of leadership, but of treason wrapped in sheer stupidity. Imagine being the founding generation and still managing to be remembered as the first official American idiot in office. 2. General William Hull, the man who handed Detroit to the British. During the War of 1812, General William Hull had over 2,500 troops stationed at Detroit. When he heard the British and their native allies were approaching with just 700 men, he panicked. Instead of fighting, he surrendered without firing a single shot. His soldiers wanted to fight, but Hull basically said, "Nope, I'm scared." He was later sentenced to death for cowardice, but pardoned by President Madison. Even today, Detroit might still hold a grudge for being handed over like a free coupon. 3. Mary Surratt, the landlady of assassins. Mary Surratt ran a boarding house in Washington, D.C., where John Wilkes Booth and his co-conspirators plotted Abraham Lincoln's assassination. She either pretended not to notice or simply didn't care, but either way, her home became the meeting place for one of the most infamous crimes in U.S. history. When investigators came knocking, she played the clueless landlady card. Unfortunately, the jury didn't buy it. She became the first woman executed by the U.S. government. If she had just been pickier with her tenants, she might have survived history's judgment. 4. Boss Tweed, the meme that got arrested. William Boss Tweed ran New York City in the 1860s and 70s like it was his personal ATM. He stole hundreds of millions of dollars from taxpayers through kickbacks and bribes. But here's the kicker. When he fled to Spain to escape justice, he was recognized because his face had been drawn in so many political cartoons. Imagine being brought down because you were too meme-worthy before memes even existed. 5. George Armstrong Custer, the overconfident general. Custer believed he was invincible. At Little Bighorn in 1876, he charged into battle against thousands of Lakota and Cheyenne warriors with only 210 men. His soldiers begged him to reconsider, but he charged anyway, thinking his ego was enough to win the fight. The result? Every single one of his men was wiped out. Custer's name is remembered not as a great general, but as the definition of arrogance leading straight to disaster. 6. Charles Guiteau, the man who shot the president for a job. Guiteau thought President James Garfield owed him a government job. When Garfield didn't give him one, Guiteau pulled out a revolver in 1881 and shot him. Instead of escaping, Guiteau paraded around saying, "I am the man, it will be all right." Spoiler, it was not all right. He was caught, executed, and his brain was preserved in a jar for medical study because people couldn't believe someone that delusional existed. 7. The molasses tank engineers of 1919. Boston officials signed off on storing 2 million gallons of sticky molasses in a poorly built tank. Locals even complained they could hear it groaning and leaking, but engineers ignored them. One cold January day, the tank burst, and a tidal wave of molasses rushed through the streets at 35 miles per hour. 21 people died, and hundreds were injured. The stupidity? Thinking giant molasses tank was a good idea in the first place. 8. Albert Fall, selling oil like a street hustler. As Secretary of the Interior, Albert Fall leased government oil reserves to his friends for bribes during the infamous Teapot Dome scandal. He thought no one would notice oil, America's most valuable resource, vanishing into private hands. He became the first U.S. cabinet member to serve prison time, forever remembered as the guy who treated government resources like garage sale items. 9. Charles Ponzi, the scam artist who couldn't count. Ponzi convinced thousands of people to invest in his scheme, claiming he could make them rich through international postage stamps. The problem? His math didn't add up, and he was just paying old investors with money from new ones. When it collapsed, people realized he didn't invent a brilliant financial model, he invented stupidity with paperwork. Now every scam is named after him. 10. Joseph McCarthy, the man who saw communists everywhere. In the 1950s, Senator McCarthy destroyed countless lives by accusing Americans of being communists without a shred of evidence. Actors, teachers, and even generals were blacklisted. But eventually, people realized McCarthy was bluffing the whole time. His name became a synonym for paranoia and lies. Basically, America's version of the boy who cried wolf, only with a Senate seat. 11. Jimmy Carter versus the rabbit. In 1979, President Jimmy Carter was fishing in Georgia when a swamp rabbit swam toward his boat. Instead of calmly handling it, Carter started waving a paddle like he was under attack. His staff leaked the story, and the media had a field day calling it the Killer Rabbit Incident. Forget nuclear tensions, the president was almost undone by a bunny. 12. Dan Quayle, the man who misspelled potato. In 1992, Vice President Dan Quayle corrected a student's perfectly spelled word potato by insisting it should have an extra E. Cameras captured the moment, and the mistake haunted his entire career. It wasn't just a spelling error, it became a symbol of clueless leadership. To this day, potato is synonymous with political stupidity. 13. Richard Nixon, the criminal who taped himself. Nixon orchestrated the Watergate scandal, then kept secret tapes of his illegal activities in the White House. When investigators got the tapes, he was exposed by his own recordings. He resigned before impeachment. It's one thing to commit crimes, it's another to narrate them yourself like a true idiot. 14. John Edwards, the presidential hypocrite. Senator John Edwards ran for president while secretly cheating on his wife, who was battling cancer. To make matters worse, he used campaign money to hide the affair. When caught, his defense was basically, all politicians lie. That didn't save him. His career crashed harder than his marriage. 15. Rod Blagojevich, the man who tried to sell a Senate seat. Rod Blagojevich was the governor of Illinois when Barack Obama was elected president, leaving an empty Senate seat behind. For most governors, this would have been a chance to serve the public. But not Blagojevich. He saw dollar signs and decided to sell the seat to the highest bidder. The FBI, already suspicious of him, caught his conversations on wiretap where he literally called it a golden opportunity and demanded money or favors in exchange. Instead of getting rich, he got 14 years in prison. His downfall wasn't just corruption, it was stupidity in thinking no one was listening when he bragged about his plan into a phone. 16. Ashley Todd, the woman who framed herself. In the heat of the 2008 election, Ashley Todd, a campaign volunteer, claimed she was attacked by a black Obama supporter who carved a B into her face. The story sounded dramatic and quickly made headlines. But police soon noticed something odd. The B was backwards, as if someone had carved it while looking in a mirror. And that's exactly what happened. Todd had carved it into her own cheek to frame Obama supporters. The hoax blew up in her face, pun intended, and she was arrested for filing a false report. She didn't just lie. She became living proof of how far stupidity will go for political drama. 17. The Tide Pod Eaters. 2018 brought us many things, but nothing as baffling as the Tide Pod Challenge. Teenagers across America started filming themselves biting into brightly colored laundry detergent pods and posting it online. Poison control centers were overwhelmed with calls. Hospitals treated burns to mouths and throats, and doctors were practically screaming into the void, "Stop eating laundry detergent!" The pods were never meant to be food, but somehow peer pressure and internet fame made kids treat them like candy. This wasn't just idiocy. It was a generational Darwin Award in real time. 18. Anthony Weiner, the congressman who couldn't stop sexting. Anthony Weiner's career was one of the most spectacular self-destructions in modern politics. He was a promising Democratic congressman with a reputation for fiery speeches. But behind the scenes, he had a weakness: sending inappropriate pictures of himself to women online. The first scandal forced him to resign, but instead of learning, he did it again while trying to stage a political comeback as the mayor of New York. By the third time, it wasn't even scandalous anymore. It was just sad. His last name already made him an easy target, but his inability to stop ensured his career was toast. 19. The Fire Festival organizers, masters of empty promises. In 2017, entrepreneur Billy McFarland and rapper Ja Rule promised the luxury music festival of the century in the Bahamas. Influencers hyped it up, tickets cost thousands, and people expected yachts, gourmet food, and villas. What they got was FEMA tents, soaking wet mattresses, and cheese sandwiches in styrofoam boxes. No music acts showed up, flights were canceled, and chaos reigned. McFarland went to prison for fraud, and Ja Rule kept insisting, "It wasn't my fault." The disaster became the ultimate modern example of overhyping stupidity and under-delivering with legendary failure. 20. Lori Loughlin and the college admissions scandal. In 2019, America was stunned to learn that Hollywood elites like Lori Loughlin were paying millions in bribes to get their kids into elite colleges. Her daughter was photoshopped into fake rowing photos to qualify for a sports scholarship, despite never touching an oar in her life. The scandal exposed how far rich parents would go to pretend their kids were special. Instead of helping her daughter earn a real education, Loughlin taught her how to be infamous. She served prison time, proving once again that money can buy privilege, but it can't buy brains. 21. Elizabeth Holmes, Silicon Valley's great pretender. Elizabeth Holmes promised the world that her company, Theranos, could run hundreds of medical tests with a single drop of blood. She wore black turtlenecks, lowered her voice to sound like Steve Jobs, and convinced billionaires, politicians, and even the military to back her. But here's the problem: the technology never worked. Her machines gave false results, which meant real patients were misdiagnosed. When the truth came out, she went from the youngest self-made female billionaire to a convicted fraud. Holmes wasn't just a scammer, she was a cult leader of Silicon Valley stupidity. 22. The Area 51 raiders, Naruto-running into nowhere. In 2019, a Facebook joke event called Storm Area 51, They Can't Stop All of Us, went viral, with 2 million people pledging to raid the secret military base and see them aliens. The military warned them not to try, but still, a few hundred showed up in the desert. What followed was less an alien invasion and more a cosplay convention, with people Naruto running past cameras. Nobody saw aliens, nobody freed ET, and the government didn't even need to use force because the whole thing fizzled out like a bad meme. 23. Ted Cruz's Cancún vacation. In February 2021, Texas was hit with one of the worst winter storms in its history. Millions of people lost power and heat. Pipes burst, roads iced over, and families froze in their homes. At the same time, Senator Ted Cruz was spotted at the airport flying to Cancún for a family vacation. The backlash was immediate, and his excuse? He said his daughters wanted to go. Instead of leading his state, he abandoned it for margaritas on the beach. Cruz may have returned quickly, but his reputation as a cowardly politician was frozen in history forever. 24. Matt Gaetz and the Venmo paper trail. If there's one rule every shady person should follow, it's this: don't leave a digital receipt. Congressman Matt Gaetz didn't get the memo. Investigators discovered that his Venmo transactions connected him to questionable activities that could have been avoided if he just used, say, cash. Screenshots and payment notes became evidence. His downfall wasn't just bad behavior. It was bad behavior paired with a kindergarten-level understanding of technology. 25. The January 6th selfie rioters. On January 6, 2021, rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol in what was supposed to be a historic rebellion. Instead, it turned into the world's dumbest crime spree. Many of the rioters live-streamed themselves smashing windows, stole podiums while smiling for cameras, and posted selfies on Facebook wearing their work IDs around their necks. The FBI didn't need top detectives, just a Wi-Fi connection. Within days, arrests poured in because people literally incriminated themselves online. It was insurrection by Instagram, and it failed as badly as you'd expect. 26. Florida man and the see-through mask robbery. Some criminals wear ski masks. Some go with bandanas. One Florida man decided his disguise would be a plastic grocery bag. That was see-through. Security cameras caught his face in high definition, and he was arrested almost immediately. His plan was so bad, it felt like a parody sketch. Only in Florida can a man rob himself of both freedom and dignity at the same time. 27. The balloon boy hoax parents. In 2009, a Colorado couple claimed their 6-year-old son had been carried away in a homemade helium balloon. TV helicopters followed the silver balloon for hours. People panicked, and emergency crews scrambled to save the boy. When the balloon landed empty, everyone feared the worst, until they found the child hiding safely in the attic. It turned out the parents staged the entire thing as a publicity stunt to land a reality TV show. Instead, they landed criminal charges. Nothing says idiot like turning your kid into a fake missing person. 28. Donald Trump's Sharpie hurricane. In 2019, President Trump held up a weather map of Hurricane Dorian that showed its projected path. But the map had been altered with a black Sharpie to include Alabama, even though the National Weather Service had already clarified the storm wouldn't hit there. Instead of admitting the mistake, Trump doubled down, insisting he was right. For days, the White House defended a hand-drawn squiggle like it was gospel truth. A doodle nearly became national policy, and the world laughed. 29. The gun safety DEA agent. During a school gun safety lecture, a DEA agent confidently told kids he was the only person in the room professional enough to handle a Glock. Seconds later, he accidentally shot himself in the leg while holding the gun. The entire moment was captured on video, and it became one of the most infamous clips in firearm history. He wasn't just unlucky, he perfectly demonstrated why arrogance and weapons don't mix. 30. Jared Fogle, from sandwich spokesman to prison. Jared Fogle became a household name as the Subway spokesman, boasting that he lost weight by eating nothing but sandwiches. He turned his personal story into a national brand, making millions. But behind the scenes, Fogle lived a double life filled with horrifying crimes. When the truth came out, his career ended instantly, and he was sentenced to prison. His fall from sub-sandwich hero to national disgrace became one of the most disturbing examples of how stupidity and evil can hide behind a smile. 31. the baseball bat gun shop robber. In 2021, a man attempted to rob a gun store armed only with a baseball bat. Let's break this down. He brought a stick to a place where every single person, including the owner, was armed with firearms. As soon as he made his threat, the store owner pointed a gun at him. The man panicked, fled, and was arrested. His crime wasn't just stupid, it was practically suicidal. 32. The man who washed away his lottery fortune. Winning the lottery is a dream. For Kurt Waldron, it was a nightmare. After winning millions, he absent-mindedly left his ticket in his shirt pocket, then tossed it in the wash. The ink vanished, and so did his jackpot. Imagine the pain of watching your millions literally swirl away with fabric softener. The lesson? Empty your pockets before doing laundry, or risk being remembered as the man who spin-cycled away his fortune. 33. The Bleach cure believers. At the height of COVID-19 panic, misinformation spread faster than the virus itself. Some Americans actually believed drinking bleach or injecting disinfectant could kill COVID inside the body. Poison control centers reported massive spikes in emergency calls as people poisoned themselves. Doctors were horrified, the public was speechless, and the rest of the world shook its head. It wasn't just dangerous, it was humanity at its absolute dumbest.